Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode corporate filings so you don't have to. Today we're diving into a proxy statement, which might sound as exciting as watching paint dry, but trust me, there are some juicy bits hidden inside, especially if you like knowing who's getting paid what and who's calling the shots. This proxy statement is essentially a document that Smithfield Foods sends to its shareholders before their annual meeting. It tells them what's on the agenda, who the board recommends voting for, and provides some background information on key topics. Think of it as a cheat sheet for the annual meeting, but with a corporate twist. First up, the basics. This document is from Smithfield Foods, the giant pork producer. They're holding their annual meeting on June 3, 2025. Shareholders get to vote on things like electing directors, ratifying their accounting firm, and giving their opinion on executive pay. One of the main things shareholders will be voting on is electing directors. These are the people who oversee the company's strategy and performance. This year, they're voting on 3 Class I director nominees, C. Shane Smith, who's also the CEO, Xiaoming Zhou, and John A. Quelch. If elected, they'll serve until the 2028 annual meeting. Another important vote is to ratify or approve the selection of Ernst & Young, or I, as their independent accounting firm for the year. This is pretty standard stuff, but it's important to make sure the company has a trusted auditor in their books. Here's where things get interesting. Shareholders get to give an advisory, non-binding vote on the compensation paid to the top executives, also known as named executive officers or NEOs. It's a chance to say whether they think the executives are being paid fairly, and another vote on how often shareholders get to voice that opinion. Let's talk about the people in charge. The board is divided into 3 classes with staggered terms. This can make it harder for someone to take over the company quickly. Also, LUH Group, which owns a big chunk of Smithfield, has the right to pick most of the directors as long as they own enough stock. The board has to decide which of the directors are independent, meaning they don't have close ties to the company that could influence their decisions. According to the filing, Ms. Gallagher, Mr. Starling, and Mr. Quelch are considered independent. The audit committee is in charge of overseeing the company's accounting and financial reporting. They make sure the numbers are accurate and that the company has good internal controls. This committee is composed of entirely independent directors. The compensation committee decides how much to pay the executives. They look at things like the company's performance and what other companies are paying their executives. It's important for companies to have a code of ethics to make sure everyone is acting honestly and responsibly. Smithfield has one that applies to all their directors, officers, and employees. Here's a quick look at how the independent directors are compensated. They get an annual cash payment, a grant of stock, and extra cash for being on the audit committee. Basically, it's a pretty good gig. Now let's get to the juicy details. Executive compensation. The company's goal is to pay executives in a way that encourages good performance and aligns their interests with shareholders. A lot of their pay is tied to how well the company does. The idea is to tie executive pay to things that make the company more valuable for shareholders, like key financial performance measures. The NEOs get a base salary, which is a fixed amount of money. In 2024, C. Shane Smith, the CEO, had a base salary of $1.5 million, while other NEOs had salaries of $1 million. On top of their base salary, the executives can earn extra money through an annual incentive program, which is based on how well the company performs. This is where it gets interesting. Each executive has a target incentive expressed as a percentage of their salary. The higher the percentage, the more they can potentially earn if the company does well. For example, C. Shane Smith's target was 67% of his salary. It goes down from there. Mark Hall's was 400% E7% of his salary. Our NEOs received some pretty big cash bonuses last year. C. Shane Smith took home $3 million. Mark L. Hall and Stephen J. France both took home $2.5 million, and Doug Sutton and Keller Watts got $2 million. This is in addition to the non-equity inventive plan compensation. Our NEOs have a pension with some huge numbers allocated to it. Mr. France, for example, had a $2.5 million change in his pension value, and his accumulative pension is close to $6 million. Looking at this table quickly, for the average Joe, the all other compensation isn't too high, peaking for Mr. Smith at $62,058. They also get some perks like use of the company aircraft and car allowance. These perks are pretty standard for top executives, but they can add up. Smithfield also offers retirement plans, health benefits, and other perks to its executives, just like most big companies. After going public, Smithfield granted stock options and restricted stock units to key people, including the NEOs. This is a way to give them a stake in the company's success. If an executive is terminated under certain circumstances, they're entitled to severance benefits like continued salary and health insurance. Smithfield has a policy for dealing with transactions where there might be a conflict of interest. This is to make sure everything is fair and above board. Since WH Group owns a big chunk of Smithfield, there are a lot of deals and agreements between the two companies. These include things like distribution agreements, trademark licenses, and even some of the people on Smithfield's board. They buy and sell pork to each other, so they need agreements in place. They purchase raw materials from the European operations of WH Group, as and when needed. The relevant transaction prices for the pork products sold by us to WH Group are set on an arm's length basis. One of the agreement is with SFDS UK Holdings Limited. SFDS and its permitted transferees may request that we register their shares and effect underwritten offerings. Okay, so what's the big picture here? Smithfield is a company with a complex structure and a lot of moving parts. They're trying to balance the interests of their shareholders, their executives, and their parent company. WH Group, the executive compensation is pretty high and seems to be on par for similar companies. A lot of their incentive package depends on performance, which is nice to see. I would say that if anything, their debt could use work. Overall, they need to work on investor relations for people to really have a long-term interest in this company. So that was the proxy statement decoded. If you found this helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe for more corporate deep dives. Let me know in the comments which company you'd like me to analyze next. Thanks for watching.